Hi everyone, it's the EnglishSimmer here, and it is that time of year where we start to reflect on the year that we've had. We start to think about, who is my top artist of the year? Maybe who is my top Sims family of the year? And unfortunately, a lot of companies have started doing a Wrapped. Sims are not one of them, which I just think is such a good idea, and I really do think that it should be an official thing where it lands in your inbox if you're signed up for like EA's marketing emails, and they could just be like, you spent this many hours online in the game this year, you uploaded this many things to the gallery, this is how many times your Sims wet themselves. But unfortunately it is not official, so I have once again this year decided to make my own Sims Wrapped. Now this is just going to be about The Sims 4. Obviously I know this year, which feels like an age since this has come out, we got the re-releases of The Sims 2 and also the original Sims, which next year I really would like to get into a little bit more. I feel like I definitely haven't played them as much as I would have liked to, but also just because I feel like The Sims 4 has the best kind of stats for me to draw from. We're gonna start off on my gallery, which is actually a really sad sight this year. I have barely done anything on my gallery, which kind of isn't surprising because eventually I do want to go through and add in like all my townie makeovers. But the thing with those is I've already dabbled here and there in uploading some of my townie makeovers, but I think I just want to go through when I know that everyone is kind of finished and like upload them all and delete my old ones. And I really also haven't been doing that many townie makeovers this year. I'm not going to talk about the series that took the shine away from townie makeovers. If you didn't know, I stream a lot of that over on Twitch, which is twitch.tv/EnglishSimmer. I stream every Monday and every Wednesday evening. But on the gallery that obviously I have connected, not just in my library, not just things that I am holding onto for myself, I uploaded more builds this time around than I did households, which if you know me, you know that is not normal. Nothing about 2025 has been normal in terms of The Sims, let's be completely honest. And it's kind of sad this time of year, like looking back on this, because I know I'm probably not going to be playing Sims 4 as much. I'm definitely not going to be playing the new content. So this one actually does feel super reflective, like way more than these types of videos usually do. But the reason I had so many builds, obviously I had one full build and that was my Pride Shell Challenge. This was so much fun. I absolutely loved seeing all of your creations. Also, this was just like such a tough build and you lot absolutely smashed it out of the park with it, but all the others were actually just rooms, which kind of have like a fair few downloads. I really wasn't expecting these to get saves to a library. What the heck do you mean, my florist business? It is just a room at the end of the day. You still would need to like place this down and then build a lot around it. But I clearly built all of these rooms for my business ideas video, in which we had a beautician business, we had a gaming cafe. I think this is actually my favorite. I love being able to like play around with lighting. I just kind of wish that playing around with lighting was still easier to do in build and buy mode. And then the two households that I actually uploaded this year, I had my Enchanted by Nature Create a Sim like family that I made for early access content of Enchanted by Nature. I don't weirdly have my full Let's Play household up here, and I also don't have my household up from businesses and hobbies, which is wild because usually, especially after I finish a Let's Play, I tend to upload them, but that must have just slipped my mind. And then the other one is my pancakes from my save file. I'm fairly sure someone actually requested my Bob pancakes and I was like, yeah, you know what? You can have them. When it comes to what is lurking in my library, this is something that I never ever check. And I know that I save such random things to my library, and then also I just like have so many Sims that I've been slightly working on here or there. This is probably my most like cursed area of the game. I apparently have 204 households in here, and I've written down that 203 3 of them are mine. I wrote these stats a few days ago, which just goes to show how bad my memory is, because I have written 1 downloaded and then guess which one, which I know that this sim is definitely downloaded. That is not a sim that I have created, but I do think I downloaded her to like change her up. I don't know what the reason was for having little Jessica Moore in my library, but I am one of 258 people who have saved her over here. But I feel like because I wrote guess, it was someone a little bit more shocking. Oh, I think I was also gonna point out that it was Vic Vector. There was an original Vic Vector who I actually saved from loops, but then I edited him up a little bit, and he was for my businesses and hobbies testers. He obviously owns the arcade in my Sims, and I also wanted to give him the little arcade actually in that video, and I love this version of Vic Vector. I think he looks so sick. I love taking my Sims characters and putting them into the Sims 4. Obviously, we already have some official ones like the BFFs, for example. So it was really nice just to kind of continue that tradition. This is the type of stuff that is saved in my library though. Just me going, delete the skin? Did I end up deleting this skin? Probably not. Let's be so real. So the 203 that are mine was definitely a claim and was not correct. I do actually have 1 saved tattoo. Wild I only maybe saved 1 tattoo, but this is of course by the one and only Luddy, and it is Sexy Yamachan, who actually is my desktop background. Still has not been changed all these years later. So many of my friends walk into my office, see my computer, and are like, excuse me? What's going on here? I also have 13 builds in here. I claim that 11 of them are mine, but that definitely doesn't feel correct. Although, I guess these rooms make up a big portion, and then a lot of them are just kind of saved from the game. So saying that I own 11 of these is definitely a claim that is not correct. I had no idea that we got these added as custom venues. This is the Whispering Waters Sanctuary. I feel like this is maybe potentially like a spa. Indoor and outdoor hot tubs and pools create calming, restorative atmosphere. Couples can deepen their romantic relationships. And then we also have Cryptid Creek Camp, which is just like the kids camp. Had no idea that Maxis had added those to our gallery around the release of Adventure Awaits. Moving on to my save files, I had 46 saves in total. Now I do think I've actually deleted some of these. The most amount of any save that I had was for my Road to the Lottery, which is currently an ongoing series with Johnny Zest. The second part is coming tomorrow, where I've never actually won the lottery in The Sims 4 seasons, and it's something that I desperately want to do. It's one of the only things that I've never done in the game, although I'm fairly sure you lot could definitely type out some things that I haven't done. And hey, if you maybe want to see a little mini series of that, leave your suggestions down below and I can let you know in a cheeky little response if I have actually done it or not yet. I have so many versions of this save just because I saved it when the lottery was like 2 days away, 1 day away, when everyone had their tickets bought, 5 minutes before the lottery was rolled. I also have quite a few of my all collections challenge, which, by the way, if you're wondering why Eloise Hiddlesticks is a ghost, Sulani got yet another sim. Fairly sure she was fishing on her boat, she got really tired, she decided to swim back to shore for some unbeknownst reason, like all Sims do. I thought Sims 4 Sims were meant to be the smarter Sims of the bunch, and she passed away instantly. But it's actually kind of helpful because now she like barely has any needs. But that was the runner-up. I actually had 5 different versions of my collections challenge because I thought that the introduction of businesses and hobbies actually ruined this. I basically turned the massive lot in Life and Death, like the big old abandoned manor house, into her museum. And I started it as a business so that we could actually invite customers to come in and like have a look at our wares and everything that we've collected over this challenge. But unfortunately, the display stands that actually come with Get to Work when you use move objects on them and like actually clutter them up, which was really, really handy, obviously, for like all of the fossils, they unfortunately glitch out and they delete like the businesses and hobbies podium, and then they also delete themselves and send everything that you had in them into your personal inventory. So it just really wasn't doing too great, and I thought that it was a mod that was breaking it, but turns out it was just myself using bb.moveObjects on. Enough with all of that though. Let's get into the real Sims 4 Wrapped. And I have made a presentation for you all, so that actually does feel like a Wrapped. Starting off with my stats. So the first one we have is the amount of kisses that I had in my game this year. Shockingly, only 31 kisses. My Sims did not feel like smooching. I don't know why that is. Sometimes, you know, it's not like a romance that you need. I'm sure last year would have been much higher because obviously I was playing... Was I playing with Growing Together? Or was that the year before? I think that was the year before. All of the packs are literally just muddled up in my brain. I cannot remember release dates. Obviously, sometimes kissing leads to woohoos, but unfortunately for my Sims, only 7 of them got lucky this year, and that really isn't a lot. I'm sorry, Simmers, I really didn't carry the woohoo stats for this year. Now, do keep in mind, these stats are only taken from the Sims that I played the most throughout the year. So this isn't like every single save I've ever played. I didn't hop into that and check out the stats of every single Sim. The number of fights that we had are a mere 2 fights. Both of these, I guess not surprisingly, were the same Sim. They were my businesses and hobbies Sim. This was Finn. Finn was getting into a couple of fistfights here or there. He was only on my channel for a very short time, but you know what? He definitely made a difference in the Sims' lives that he fought. However, I fear I absolutely popped off with the amount of events that I held. I don't even know what counts as an event at this point in the game. I think dates probably count. I don't know if holidays maybe count for events, because that definitely could like up the score a little bit. I was just assuming that it was just like the events, like the social events that you can host. Don't ask me how I managed to fit 543 events into my Sims 4 game this year. I have no idea. Go Here's, this is obviously when I choose the Go Here interaction, which I apparently don't do that often, which is kind of surprising to me. As a content creator, I'm pretty much like a mini director and producer of my Sims. The fact that I only told Sims where to go 194 times is kind of wild, but it kind of makes sense for my gameplay style, because I do just kind of let my Sims get up to their free will. I don't really try micromanage all that much. I would love to see a machinima maker and see their amount of Go Here's, because I imagine theirs are a lot higher than mine. For the next stat, we have bladder failures. And can I just say, I'm pretty proud of this one. I actually took care of my Sims this year. 4 bladder failures for the whole of 365 days is actually impressive to me. However, I will say 2 of them came from an elder Sim, and I don't think I can be held responsible for that, because we all know that elders have tiny little bladders. The amount of times my Sims passed out, a completely different story. I will excuse myself. Yeah, I'm just gonna go. You know how like 5 seconds ago I just said I took such good care of my Sims this year? I may actually retract my statement, because what do you mean my Sims passed out 16 times? I thought that these were in my Nightmare Legacy challenge, but it turns out it's that elder Sim in my businesses and hobbies again. Ida was working her little butt off, and she actually passed out 5 times. Next up, we have fires. This is actually classed by the amount of times my Sims actually had the singe stat, and then also how many fires they witnessed. In 2025, there were only 19 fires. Again, I'm quite impressed with myself. It feels like everyone learnt to cook this year, and I am proud of them. Number of deaths witnessed, 12. Which, you know what, on paper, it looks quite shocking, but if you think about it logically, I have a Nightmare Legacy challenge. It's a short lifespan. We also have many, many children, which means obviously the generations in that family are quite big. So I also don't think I can be blamed for this one. It's not like I'm forcing my Sims to die. I don't actually think any of these Sims, no, that's a lie, because Eloise definitely had an early demise, but that was her own free will. She could have avoided that one and she chose not to. She could have just stayed on the boat and she didn't. A lot of these are just expiring from old age, so I'm not gonna hold that against me. I'm being called out once again. You don't have a social life, but your Sims sure do, and you're not gonna get a more accurate statement than that this year. Obviously, the 543 events that I attended, the most out of any of my stats. All that's missing is 6, 7. We're just gonna move on from that one. One certain couple had unrequited love. I know, shocking, considering unrequited love actually isn't a thing that you can do in The Sims 4, with one side kissing 4 times and the other kissing a big fat 0 times. And I want you to guess who it is. Leave your guesses down in the comments below. Who do you think had an unrequited love? According to my game, because it's not actually official. There's not like one-sided romance bars. The romance bars cannot be uneven, which I really wish that that was a thing in this game. I'm gonna let you guess in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I don't know why that key is now not working, but we'll click through it. It was, of course, my Enchanted by Nature Sims, which kind of isn't surprising because they were a lover boy. Through and through. They actually hated each other's guts for a long while, and then suddenly they wanted each other. Which, you know what? I do love an enemies to lovers. The mood that my Sims felt the most was, of course, happy. It is basically the default in The Sims 4. Let's be so real. However, I will say Eloise from my collections challenge felt focused like 500 and something times. I just basically went through my stats and I tallied all the different like emotions that my Sims felt the most, and happy was the most popular one. I was confident with 2 Sims most of the time, and those were my Nightmare Legacy Sims. I think that's because they actually had like high confidence from childhood, which makes sense because they do tend to finish like a lot of their aspirations. Obviously, Eloise was focused. One Sim was uncomfortable and the other Sim was inspired. I'm so sorry to the one Sim that I made feel uncomfortable the whole year. I completed 350 once across the board. Your Sims might control you instead of you controlling them. I don't even listen to once all that much. I feel like obviously if I'm dedicating a video towards like my once controlling my game, that I am going to listen to, but I feel like the wants are so basic in The Sims 4. Like even your needs kind of drive your wants. So you could like want to go to the toilet and then once you do go to the toilet, it completes it. So this definitely isn't a surprising stat. My most active Sim was Eloise Hiddlesticks, my all collections challenge Sim. Of course it was. I played an awful lot of my all collections challenge this year over on Twitch, and I've had so much fun with it. It's honestly just made me love Eloise so much. She was introduced with high school years. Obviously, I gave her a townie makeover. She is basically my Jacqueline Wilson. I love her, and it's definitely not surprising that she was my most played, probably, I'm assuming, hours-wise. Eloise Hiddlesticks completed 17 collections this year. Now, this is kind of a guess. I can't actually remember each and every one that we finished. I tried to go through them and like logically think about whether I can cast my mind back to her actually finishing this year, and I do think it was around 17 collections from what I can remember, which to me is very impressive. However, we have got a lot of collections recently with the timed events that are just like, hey, go out and buy this thing and you'll complete this collection. So this might not be impressive to some of you, but it is impressive to me. I unfortunately didn't count how many she has left, but who knows, maybe 2026 is gonna be her year. The action my Sims did the most was sleep. very unsurprisingly. Your Sims always have to sleep, you know, they at least have to sleep nightly. If you don't buy any of the reward traits that actually help with their moodlets, you're gonna pretty much have to nap or sleep here and there. I just find it funny that that was the activity that they did the most. Aside from feeling happy, sleep was one of their main moodlets. I unlocked a brand new achievement this year, the crash out. What does this mean? Congratulations, your game crashed 3 times whilst we were gathering your stats. Yes, I'm writing this as if the Sims team sent this to me. I made it myself, okay? Which meant I had to go through my game, I had to load into all the different saves that I wanted my Sims stats from, and whilst I was doing that, whilst I was loading into households, it actually broke down 3 times and just like exited me out of the game completely, which is recently the most that my game has ever crashed. I don't know if it was maybe because I was flip-flopping between saves, I have no idea, but my game definitely was not happy with me trying to collect my stats. So the fact that this wrapped even made it out of the drafts, I feel like we can all be proud of that one. And if you've watched this whole video and you've thought, where the heck did you get these stats from? If you actually go to your Sim's Simology panel, up here you can obviously see how your Sim is aging. You can also see their genealogy, but this little graphed icon in the bottom right corner is your Sim stats. So you can see how many meals they've cooked, how many showers they've taken. Obviously, this is where I got the times kissed from, bathroom break, social events attended, times asleep, meals eaten, bladder failure, passed out, singe, death witness, fires witnessed, the once I've completed with that specific Sim, the amount of times they've been feeling a certain type of way, and also randomly vampiric accomplishments. I don't know. I don't know why no other occult is included in here. I have no idea why they forgot to ever update the stats from these. I would honestly love to have more stats. I think it's such a fun little thing for you to be able to look back on and be like, oh yeah, I remember all the times I made my Sims absolutely uncomfortable or terrified. But there we have it. There is my Sims Wrapped of 2025. These are always just super fun to do. It's fun to kind of look back at the year that I've had in my game, and also just like designing the presentation itself. That's something I don't do very often. It's not like muscles I stretch very frequently, so it is always an enjoyable time when I can just like mess around with a cheeky presentation or two. But I hope you all enjoyed this. I honestly might, if you want me to, upload the templates somewhere. Maybe I'll just like throw them up on my Twitter or something, and if you wanted to, you could also fill in your own stats. If that is something you would like to see, it's probably not going to come over Christmas. I'm going to be so real with you all, but maybe like in the new year, or like in between Christmas and New Year, I potentially could get them up. So if you would like to see that, definitely let me know. Or if you're just gonna do your own Wrapped in the comments down below, I want to see everything. I want to hear all of your stories. Who were some of your favorite Sims from the year? What did you actually get up to in your game? Were you more of a builder, a creator simmer, a game player? I want to know everything that has been going on in your 2025. Thank you all so much for tuning in, and I will speak to you all in my next one. Bye now.